According to the World Bank's most recent Global Economic Prospects report, the Russian invasion of Ukraine has exacerbated the COVID-19 pandemic's effects and the global economy's decline, which might lead to a lengthy period of weak growth and high inflation. This increases the possibility of stagflation, which might have negative effects on both middle and low-income economies. The projected decline in global growth from 5.7% in 2021 to 2.9% in 2022 is a sharp decline from the January projection of 4.1%. Over the years 2023 to 2024, it is anticipated to maintain that pace as the conflict in Ukraine hampers trade, investment, and activity in the short term, pent-up demand wanes, and accommodative fiscal and monetary policies are lifted. The level of per capita income in developing economies this year will be around 5% below its pre-epidemic trend due to the effects of the pandemic and the conflict. With a focus of how stagflation can affect emerging market and developing nations, the June Global Economic Prospects report provides the first systematic evaluation of how current global economic conditions compare with the stagflation of the 1970s. Steep increases in interest rates were necessary in the major advanced countries to recover from the stagflation of the 1970s, and these increases were a major factor in the series of financial crises that occurred in emerging and developing nations. Three factors make the current period reminiscent of the 1970s. Persistent supply-side disruptions that are driving inflation, which were preceded by a protracted period of highly accommodative monetary policy in the major advanced economies, prospects for weakening growth, and vulnerabilities that emerging market and developing economies face in relation to the tightening of monetary policy that will be required to control inflation. The current episode, however, also differs from the 1970s in a number of ways, including the dollar strength, which contrasts sharply with that decade's extreme weakness, the percentage increases in commodity prices, and the overall strength of the balance sheets of the largest financial institutions. More crucially, in contrast to the 1970s, central banks in advanced and many emerging economies now have explicit mandates for price stability, and they have developed a credible track record of hitting their inflation targets during the last 3 decades. Next year, global inflation is predicted to decline, but many nations' inflation targets will likely still be exceeded. According to the paper, if inflation stays high, a recurrence of the earlier stagflation episode's resolutions might result in a sharp global slump as well as financial crises in some developing and emerging market economies. Robert Kiyosaki states that we all have tremendous potential and we all are blessed with gifts. Yet the one thing that holds all of us back is some degree of self-doubt. It is not so much the lack of technical information that holds us back, but more the lack of self-confidence. Given the increased possibility of stagflation as a result of conflict, it gives us all the more reason to push ourselves into investing towards appropriate skill sets that will propel us into being relevant and sought after by what the world needs today.